Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight Family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Olenik. And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want One Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American Top Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. It is good to be back, but I got to be a little honest with you. It's a little, you get used to doing nothing, so you got to shake those cobwebs.
Shake it off.
Shake it off, and let's jump right in. We are going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 46 Kattar versus Chikadze fight card. We're going to give you our picks, our bets, and our fantasy plays. And if you like free money, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know, and I will send you $50. Straight up, $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. All you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, let me know, and I will get you paid. Jakey boy, welcome back. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Now, let's jump right in. First up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Vanessa Demopoulos versus Silvana Gómez Juárez. Vanessa Demopoulos 6-4 overall. She is 2-3 in her last 5, coming off of a decision loss to JJ Aldrich in her UFC debut. Silvana Gómez Juárez, these names are a mouthful, these first 4 fights, is 10-3 overall, 3-2 in her last 5, coming off a submission loss to Loopy just 2 months ago. And opening the first UFC card in 2022, we have a striker versus striker matchup that should be pretty fun. Vanessa Demopoulos made her UFC debut just a few months ago at 125 pounds on short notice against JJ Aldrich. She now has a full camp, and it is at her natural weight class of 115 pounds. Vanessa's a good striker. She likes to fight in the pocket. She doesn't have any real power, but she has volume and footwork. If it does get to the ground, Vanessa has solid grappling and can make something happen. The wrestling, however, is a bit of a gap. Similar to Vanessa, Silvana Gómez Juárez's last fight was her UFC debut. She's also a striker, but where Vanessa likes to stay in the pocket, Silvana likes to use her reach to keep people outside of range. And she has genuine power in her hands and throws very heavy leg kicks. These odds, it went from a pick 'em, and the odds are just moving a little bit here and there. They've kind of shifted in this fight from a straight up even line pick 'em. And now on some books, Vanessa's a slight favorite, and I tend to agree with that. I feel like Silvana has the raw power, where Vanessa has the speed and the volume. Vanessa also has the grappling edge. I just don't see her getting it to the ground because she does not have very good offensive wrestling, and I just don't think Silvana's going to shoot here. I don't know why she would when she's got the power in her hands and she's a striker. So I'm going to go with Vanessa here, but it's the first fight of the year. There's absolutely no way I'm going to bet on this fight. I'm just going to sit back, enjoy, and fall into a rhythm. But I'm going Vanessa Demopoulos.
I 100% agree, and I put 3 units on Vanessa to win because I think these odds are crazy. They've actually moved already to minus 130 from a pick'em fight. Listen, Vanessa is nasty, and you mentioned the last fight versus JJ Aldrich. It was a short notice fight. She moved up to 125, and she couldn't really get those takedowns that she normally gets because JJ is a good wrestler herself and was just a naturally bigger woman that night. So, I see Vanessa getting this fight to the ground. I think that Silvana is really in trouble because her last fight versus Loopy kind of set the blueprint up on how to beat her. You get inside, you take her down, and submit her. I think Vanessa is able to do that exact same thing. I think she can get inside. I think she can get the takedowns, and I think she gets a submission win. On her Instagram, she's known as the toughest and strongest strawweight on the planet, self-described, and I like that confidence. I think she's nasty. I like Vanessa all the way.
All right. What about, so you bet her. So obviously you're loving DraftKings at $8,200. That's a pretty affordable price for somebody you're that confident in, right?
Right. I like Vanessa all the way. DraftKings, everything. And this is kind of short notice for Silvana, too. I don't know how short notice, but Vanessa was originally supposed to fight Ashley Yoder, which I think would have been a much tougher matchup for her style than Silvana. So I like Vanessa.
Yeah, I like Vanessa to win. The big question mark is the wrestling. Her wrestling's not, she doesn't have great offensive wrestling that she can depend on. But she is back at a weight class that makes more sense for her. Hopefully she can get some takedowns and make it happen. What do you think of this Monkey Knife Fight strike line? So anybody watching doesn't know what Monkey Knife Fight is. It's daily fantasy, just like DraftKings. There's an app on your phone. And literally you get a strike line like this and you just say more or less. And if you hit it, you can triple your money, 25 times your money if you string a few together. So this is saying 76 strikes for Vanessa, 56 for Silvana. If you think this goes the distance, I mean, it's got to be a more, right?
I think it's a less because I think it's pretty much all grappling. I don't think it goes the distance. Especially if you look at striking versus Silvana has a fight against Ariana Lipsky where it almost looked like she was just afraid to get hit. She's like one of those people that like is like backing up and she gets hit and just kind of like does this with her arms and stuff. So she's not going to be high volume. And Vanessa could strike with her for a little bit, but I think the takedowns are going to be there. She gets this fight to the ground and does what she does. So I think it's a less play.
Yeah, I think the 56 is tricky. 76, it's tricky because if she gets a bunch of takedowns and it goes a distance and she's just busy on top, she could blow past that. I'll see what this line does. If you want to try it out, go to wewantpicks.com/MKF. Sign up. It's super easy. It's a ton of fun. They will match your deposit, and you can just use the free deposit money. And speaking of free money, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. And I will send you $50, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, $50 just for signing up and supporting our partners. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, I told you these first few fights are an absolute mouthful. We have Saidyokub versus We have Saidyokub Kakhramonov versus Kelleher. Kelleher, 23-12 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Kakhramonov, 9-2 in his career. Big discrepancy here. 9-2 in his career. He's 4-1 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight win streak and coming off of a submission win in his UFC debut. Kelleher has a ton of experience. And he's great measuring stick for prospects like Kakhramonov. He's incredibly well-rounded with clean boxing, decent power, very good grappling, and a great pace. He's very fun to watch, always looking for a finish. And this is his second fight back at 135 after spending some time at 145, where he really couldn't impose his will. He couldn't be sort of the physical fighter that he likes to be at 145. So it's nice to see him back at 135 where he can try to impose his will. Saidyokub Kakhramonov is coming off a great UFC debut where he submitted Trevin Jones in the 3rd round and has earned himself a big step up in competition here against Kelleher. Kakhramonov is also very well-rounded. He's comfortable on his feet with a quick jab and a good amount of low kicks. They're mostly there to gauge distance, but they are there, and after a while, they do some damage. I would label him as a striker, but he has very good takedown defense and pretty good submission offense as well. And this is a really tough pick for me. I watched a ton of tape leading up to this fight, and I think Kakhramonov has the cleaner striking. He's definitely faster, but he does slow down, and he does get taken down. If you go to his loss in the PFL, or his most recent loss in the PFL, he was controlled, and he even lost a few of the striking exchanges against a wrestler. Even in the Trevin Jones win, he gave up positions and he was taken down. Kelleher is big, strong, has an insane amount of experience, and I think the odds are definitely wide, and I like Kelleher here to squeak out an upset. I could be way off here, and Kakhramonov could just be like the absolute future. But I think Kelleher is just a little too big, a little too experienced, a little too well-rounded, and he sets a really good pace. I think he will grind out Kakhramonov. It probably goes a decision, but I like Kelleher to win by grind. He's the pick. I went to go place a plus 3.5 bet on him. Those haven't even dropped yet because I don't think the odds makers know what to do with that. But Jakey boy, what do you think?
$100?
You're on the other side of this?
$100?
Man, we'll discuss it. Let's talk about it on our Saturday live stream.
That's fine. That's fine. Listen, I love Saeed because you mentioned that last fight against Trevin Jones. He won the fight by submission in the third round. You know the craziest part about that whole thing is he was in and training in LA for a long time before he got this fight, like a long, long time. Ran out of money, was like splitting like bologna sandwiches with his roommates, had zero money. So he said, you know what? They haven't called. I don't think they're going to call. So I'm going back to Uzbekistan to his dad, where he was just hanging out, playing with the goats, feeding the sheep, doing his thing. When the UFC called him on a Monday night,
assumptions there.
No, he quoted that. He said, I was helping on the farm with the sheep and stuff like that. The UFC called him on a Monday night and said, do you want this fight? He did not tell them that he was not in town. He did not tell them all because they're not going to let him fly across the country from Uzbekistan to try and fight on Saturday. He got to Vegas Wednesday night, was able to almost make weight. He missed weight by 2.5 pounds and still won that fight in the third round. He was defending takedowns and got the submission win. That is just extreme toughness. He wasn't even training and still won that fight. And Trevin Jones, I think, is a pretty good fighter. Brian Kelleher is always going to be live for his guillotine. That's what he's known for. Saeed might shoot and get caught. You know, that's always an option. But I think he's a much better fighter in this fight. I think he dominates this fight. And I think I actually put him in one of my favorites parlay. I think I have 3 fighters. I think he's one of them. So I'm Saeed all the way in this fight.
Yeah, we're pretty split on this. And listen, I'm not like Kelleher's going to dominate. This line is crazy. I just look at the experience difference between the two of them. We've seen Kakhramonov get dominated by wrestling. Like, if you look at those losses, he was taken down, controlled. Even Trevin Jones took him down and controlled him for a little bit there. So I just think Brian Kelleher's wrestling, his power, his strength, his grittiness, I think all of that can make it happen. So we're split here. Are you confident enough to spend the $8,700 in DraftKings?
Probably not, because I think he's got to play it safe, but I think he's just a better fighter all around. So, well, not in the wrestling, I guess, but I think he's a better fighter.
Yeah, I think I like 7,500 for Brian Kelleher for sure, because even if there's a loss, he's probably not going to get stopped. He's going to get some takedowns. He's going to be busy. Takedowns are 5 points each. I think he scores well in DraftKings. I think he wins, but even if he loses $7,500, I think he could absolutely be worth a few bucks there. Monkey knife fight, you're going less. You think there's a stoppage here?
No, Kelleher's tough. I think it's probably a more situation, honestly.
Yeah, I think they'll go at it. I don't know if it's more and more, because I think Kelleher's getting some takedowns. So I actually like less on Kakhramonov and more on Kelleher, because I think Kelleher's going to get some takedowns, do a little bit of grinding, and make something happen there. I don't necessarily think it'll be a striking war, because if it is a striking war, then you're right. Kakhramonov should win that. If you want your free $50, wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. Let me know. I will send you $50 free. And if you want to try out Monkey Knife Fight, listen, it's a new year. Give it a go. wewantpicks.com/MKF. All you got to do is sign up. You make your deposit. They'll match your deposit. You can just use the free money instantly. If you lose it, who cares? You have your real money left over. And if you win, great. Withdraw your real money and play with their deposit match money, and you're good to go. This should be an interesting fight. Sorry for all the plugs, guys. That's what keeps the lights on over here. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Dakota Bush versus Viacheslav Borshchev. I'm getting much better with these names. Go back a year and see how I was pronouncing names and compare it to now. Dakota Bush, 8-3 overall. 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a decision loss to Austin Hubbard. Viacheslav Borshchev, 5-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off of a great Contender Series win. Dakota Bush, I mentioned he's coming off that loss to Austin Hubbard. That was a short notice fight, and it was his UFC debut, so the cards were stacked against him. But he looked decent in that fight. He's a solid striker. He moves well. He has well-timed shots and powerful low kicks. He's also a good grappler who, if he uses takedowns and he gets there, he's got solid pressure and some good control on top. Dakota Bush, a well-rounded guy who had a tough draw in that UFC debut. Viacheslav Borshchev is a fantastic striker, a legitimate striker with a legitimate professional kickboxing career before he transitioned to MMA. He's got a great jab, solid power, fantastic kicks. And this is almost like a Rafael Fiziev situation where he's a fighter, but he's also the head striking coach. And in this case, he's the head striking coach at Team Alpha Male. So while Team Alpha Male is not known as a striking gym, two things. One, we've certainly seen improvements with the Team Alpha Male guys. In 2021, they all looked really well and they did well. And I know you guys have your Uriah Faber conspiracy theories, but Team Alpha Male looked pretty good on their feet in 2021. But more importantly, they are known for little man wrestling. They have lower weight classes. They're all nasty wrestlers. And for Borshchev to be amongst them day in and day out, I have to imagine that his wrestling is getting better, both offense and defense, and he's getting good wrestling looks every single day. And if you combine that with his legitimate credentialed kickboxing, he's a dangerous guy. I do think these odds are way off. I totally understand why Borshchev is the favorite, but to be an almost 2-1 favorite, when we haven't even really seen him tested, we haven't seen him fight a real wrestler or somebody that's going to, as well-rounded as Dakota Bush, or somebody who's going to try to take him down. We haven't seen that yet. So 2-1 seems like a stretch to me. We just don't know how his cardio is going to hold up if Dakota Bush is pushing that wrestling pace. We don't know what he'll do if he's taken down more than once. And I could see a fight where Dakota Bush weathers an early storm and then takes over with some grinding and some wrestling and just survives with, Borshchev a little starry-eyed and exhausted in the later rounds. My pick is Viacheslav Borshchev. That is the pick. I do think these odds are crazy. I think it's much closer, and I have to factor the team in here. The pick is the pick because it's Team Alpha Male, and I have to imagine he's getting those wrestling looks. He's improving in the wrestling department, and he can defend Dakota Bush's takedowns. Because let's put it this way. If they're going to strike, Dakota Bush will be on the wrong side of most of those exchanges. Dakota's going to look to wrestle. And if Borshchev has an answer for the wrestling, then that's it. It's his fight, easy breezy. If he doesn't, then he's going to be embarrassed, taken down a bunch of times. And these odds are going to look even dumber than they look right now. Jakey boy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree that the odds are a little bit crazy. I would put this probably like a 1 plus 120-ish for Dakota, because he is tough, man, and he is game. You saw that in that last fight against Austin, short notice. You couldn't even tell it was short notice until kind of the end. He faded a little bit, for good reason. But I love Dakota Bush. I think for him to win, he does need to mix in the takedowns, because the striking of Viacheslav is unreal. To me, he looks like a 155 Piotr Jan is how good his striking looks to me. That high, tight boxing guard, and the way he comes out. You mentioned that jab. That jab is one of the stiffest jabs you're probably going to see in the UFC. I love his striking. I love his boxing, and he throws the kicks in there as well. If Dakota can get him down a few times, I think honestly that this might be a really good value on that plus 3.5. We'll have to see what it looks like, but I think that Dakota could get him down early and maybe control the first round, maybe tire after that, or Viacheslav is able to defend a few takedowns once Dakota gets a little bit more tired. But these odds are tighter than they should be, or I mean they should be tighter than what they are. But I like Viacheslav in this, just because I think his striking is a little bit crisp. I think Dakota's going to want to strike with him and show what he can do, and I think he's going to get eaten up with the jab, and then there's going to be a big KO punch cover the top at some point. So I'm Viacheslav on this, but I definitely agree. Dakota's he's got a chance in this fight for sure. I think, and my prediction, I think this is going to be Friday the night. I think the first round of this fight, there might be one fight that might be a little bit better, but I think the first round of this fight is going to be insane. Dakota's game, and so is Viacheslav. So I'm going Viacheslav, but it's close.
Yeah, I do think there's just too many questions. There's just way too many questions at this point in Vialeshev's career. Not that Dakota Bush has a ton of experience. It's not like the fight we just broke down before this, but we at least know he's well-rounded, where we just don't know how well-rounded Borshchev is at this point in his career. You mentioned a plus 3.5. For anybody watching that doesn't know what that is, a plus 3.5 bet is where you buy 3.5 points on the judge's scorecard. So the way the math works out is Dakota Bush, in this case, would just need to win a single round. He has to survive and win one round on his own, and then you bought a second round, so then you get paid out because he wins a decision as far as the bookies are concerned. You are only going to get that bet, whether you like it for this fight or any other fight where you think it's close and the odds are crazy. You're only going to get that at Bet Online. So go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. Bet Online is the partner that has that plus 3.5 bet. I love it. We've cashed that many, many times before.
Minus 115.
In this fight. What?
Minus 115.
Yeah, I actually don't like it in this fight because I think Dakota Bush either grinds out a win or gets stopped. I don't see him surviving in a loss. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't like it. But if you guys do think he'll survive in a loss and can steal a third round or any one of the rounds, then that's a perfect bet.
And can I just say, I'm so glad the UFC's back because I lost an ungodly amount of money betting on football in the last 4 weeks. So I need UFC back to get my bank account back.
Yeah, well, you did that with Monkey Knife Fight. You did well with UFC, and then you just lit it on fire when you did basketball lines, and that was it. And honestly, the reason, a little bit of a tangent, the reason there's money to be made on UFC is because it's a fist fight. There's 1 million variables, and people like us who are a little sharper than the general public and sharper than the books can find those spots because it's not football. It's not basketball. There's not 100 years of data that can just build a line for you. Anyway, I do not like – this is interesting because I don't really like Borshchev at $9,000. But with that being said, he could win by stoppage and be worth it. I just don't like him at $9,000 though. There's too many questions for that. Or do you think there's the stoppage?
Yeah, I would trust Dakota's toughness to not get stopped. So I probably wouldn't play the 9,000. I would trust Dakota.
9,000, you need a stoppage. Otherwise, it's just straight up not worth it. Dakota Bush, $7,200. That may absolutely be worth it. I'm not sure. I'll build my lineup. I'll see what happens. And then the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, it's a tricky one. I think it's either more or less more because I do think it's somewhat of a war. 80 strikes is a lot for Borshchev. I think he'll get taken down. So it's probably less than 79 for him, but more than 47 for Dakota. What do you think?
It feels like if Dakota gets hit 80 times, one of those is eventually going to knock him out. But I do love his toughness. He's never been finished. So, yeah, I probably play the more is probably the safer play, honestly.
It could be. And those Monkey Knife Fight lines move with money, just like betting odds. So, a line like this, let's see what happens. And tomorrow we will do our line setting show with Chris Riley. Chris Riley is the one who literally sets those Monkey Knife Fight lines. So I do the show with him. We'll ask him about this one, and he'll let us know what the money's saying, and we can go from there. If you want your free $50, go to wewantpicks.com/bets, sign up, make a deposit, let me know. I will send you $50, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, literally however you want it. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Gabriel Benítez versus TJ Brown. Gabriel Benítez, 22-9 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, coming off the stoppage loss to Billy Quarantillo. TJ Brown, 15-8 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a win over the now unemployed Kai Kamaka III. TJ Brown's an aggressive striker with solid volume and a great pace. He's also a very good grappler that averages 4 takedowns per fight. 4. That's a ton. His takedown accuracy is only 58%, but he has absolutely no problem giving up on a takedown, resetting, dropping back down, and then shooting multiple shots before he gets one done. TJ Brown, well-rounded guy, good striking, nonstop wrestling. Good guy. Gabriel Benítez, very good kickboxer, and specifically has great kicks. The rumors are flying, and mostly because literally his coach said so, that he's the hardest kicker at American Kickboxing Academy. It's just like some stupid tidbit that the whole world wants to talk about. And I think, first of all, it's a ridiculous thing to say when Cain Velasquez is at that gym. So you mean to tell me Javier Mendez is dead serious when he says Gabriel Benítez kicks harder than Cain Velasquez. Come on, it's nonsense and it's hype. But he does have really good movement. He does have good leg kicks. How powerful they are is up for debate. He picks his shots well, and he has very real power. His takedown defense is 56%, and he will probably need it in this matchup. And this fight is set up to be one of the most fun fights on the card. TJ Brown is a grappler at his roots, but he does love to strike. Gabriel Benítez is a fantastic striker. What I don't understand is the line. Minus 190 for Gabriel Benítez, that seems absolutely crazy. I don't know why he's a 2-1 favorite. I genuinely don't know. Like, yes, he's got great kicks that can slow TJ down, but he had the exact same kicks and kicking technique against Billy Quarantillo, Marias, Youssef, and it didn't help him in any of those fights. He wasn't even taken down in 2 of those losses. So the narrative that you have to take him down to beat him, that's not true either. So the obvious answer is that TJ Brown needs to grapple to win. And then he'll, but he would lose if he doesn't because Benítez is such dangerous kicks and blah, blah. I just don't see that. I'm not buying into that narrative. I like TJ's volume on his feet. I like his pressure. And honestly, you can stop leg kicks a few different ways. You can check them. You can lift the leg. And one of the ways is literally to step into them and pressure forward because you're not going to throw leg kicks while you're backing up. Because if you plant to throw a leg kick, that's when you're susceptible to a takedown. And if I've closed that distance, you've got problems. So leg kicks is more of a plodding forward type technique. And TJ Brown sets a pace and really won't let Gabriel Benítez plot forward. I think TJ's pressure and grappling can absolutely get it done. I like TJ here. He's my pick. I am going to wait before I throw down some money because I feel like I must have missed something. Because if I was just coming into this blind, didn't know what the odds were, and were setting my own odds, I would have TJ Brown as the favorite. Am I crazy?
You're not crazy, and that's why TJ Brown is the lock of the week. This is the easiest lock of the week I've literally ever seen in my life. TJ Brown, a former lock of the week versus Kai Kamaka. He's going for back-to-back lock of the week. TJ Brown, Arkansas wrestling. I can't stress enough. Angelo and I both agree Arkansas wrestling is the best wrestling in the entire world. Him and Bryce Mitchell are going to take over the UFC. I love TJ Brown all the way, and I disagree with you because I think for him to win this fight, he definitely does have to use the wrestling. Can he win striking exchanges? Probably, but I just don't want him to do that, right? He's my lock of the week. He's going to be the better wrestler. It's going to be close in like the actual like grappling like scrambles and exchanges. I don't know if he's going to be able to submit Gabriel. I think he's going to be able to come close, maybe the end of the round, something like that. But I'm TJ Brown all the way, Arkansas wrestling. There is a weird tidbit when I was researching Gabriel. He fought Jason Knight. And Jason Knight in that fight, it says it plain as day, lost a point in that fight for biting the finger of Gabriel Benítez. Have you ever heard that in your entire life? Lost a point for biting the finger. I've seen it in a million
wrestling matches before, but not in a fist.
That is crazy. So that's just something I saw while doing research. To me, Gabriel is I don't think he looks like super sharp in his last few fights. He's only 6-5 in the UFC, so his record's 22-10, but he's kind of been hit or miss in the UFC. TJ Brown, I think he's like 12 and what's his record? 12-6, something like that. I think he's much better than his record shows. I think he gets in trouble when he does get in those striking exchanges in those firefights. If he would just stick to the wrestling and just overwhelm Gabriel and just basically try to break him as a fighter, as a man, by just overwhelming him with the volume. I think he gets this win easy, and I put 2 units on him already. I might look for it inside the distance as well. So I'm TJ Brown, lock of the week all the way. This will be 4 in a row lock of the week. So we're back on track.
You've never had the same guy be the lock of the week twice and win both times, have you? Is this the first time?
Ryan Hall.
yeah, no, he's definitely strung together a bunch of wins. All right, so we both like TJ Brown here, and I honestly feel like I'm missing something because, like I said, these odds, not only are the odds crazy, I wouldn't have them flipped because I don't think TJ.
Oh, and it was sorry, I just did my research. Pat Sabatini, back to back.
There you go. I wouldn't have TJ Brown as a minus 190 favorite, but he'd certainly be like a minus 130. So these odds just seem absolutely nuts to me.
And honestly, I think that Gabriel is the better overall fighter in my mind. That's why I would rather DJ stick to what he does best, because I think Gabriel's the overall better fighter.
Yeah.
So that's probably why the odds are the way they are.
I wouldn't say he's the overall. It's like you're building a video game character. You have 100 points to work with. I think TJ's are more evenly spread out with cardio, power, striking, and grappling. Let's say those are the four. Where Gabriel's like power, striking, and then not as much.
It's funny too, TJ, because he is from Arkansas. And he's just a good old boy, man. He's like super humble and down to earth. They were talking about the Kai fight. They interviewed him after the fight, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I won, man, but the judges gave it to me." And then he said in that fight too, he said, "Yeah, at one point I woke up on the canvas. I didn't know where I was at, but I'm the tough guy, so I just kind of pushed through it and got back to my stool." It's so funny. So he's a tough guy. He's just a good old boy, man. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, and I watched the Kai Kamaka fight, and watching those fights, knowing the outcome, it's hard. Like it's hard to watch it objectively. I know a lot of people think he did lose it, but either way, he's still got a job, and unfortunately for Kai, he does not. $7,100 in DraftKings seems like an absolute steal to me because he is a tough guy. I don't see him just getting blitzed and knocked out immediately or KO'd immediately, but I do like TJ Brown in this fight. So does Jacob. $7,100 in DraftKings seems to make sense. Jacob's got a bunch of bets on him. I probably will. And
here's the one thing I want to mention real quick because in my notes I forgot to mention it. Sometimes TJ will throw blind kicks, like low kicks and just regular kicks. And we've seen people before throw blind kicks and they just come right over the top and just KO the guy. So if he starts doing that, he could be in trouble. But I think he just sticks to the wrestling.
TJ, I went to go put a 3.5 bet on him because you guys know me. I the reason I did so well last year, Jacob and I both did incredibly well with bets last year, but very different paths. Jacob was feast or famine, chasing plus 1,600 payouts and hitting a few, where I was just one unit at a time. So I looked for a plus 3.5 bet on this fight because you know what? I trust TJ Brown. I think he'll win the fight. But if I could bet on them to just win a round, I'll do that instead and take lesser odds. But they're not out. They didn't drop that. So we'll see what that line looks like.
It's here now. It's up now.
Plus 3.5?
Minus 125.
Oh, man. Look at the swing from plus 160 to minus 125. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. It's so funny. They must have just dropped it because I did these graphics at like 2 p.m. today. So either way, we're both on TJ. Jacob actually laid out his money. I probably will. Yeah, maybe I'll do a small money line. I'll probably make something happen. Jester just commented in the live chat that Benítez gas is out. That certainly doesn't help, especially with TJ Brown's pace.
I agree.
And I agree. Monkey knife fight strike line is probably more and more. I do think these guys go at it. That's a low line. I think they go at it. And TJ's the type of guy that will bring the fight out of people. So even if Gabriel's traditionally a slower starter, you got somebody in your face like that, you have to throw back. And TJ's the type of guy that sort of sucks that out of people.
Yeah, and Gabriel will get tired, but he won't quit. That's why I said TJ needs to try and break him. But Gabriel's a tough dude too. So
yeah, no, I think it's a good fight. More and more a monkey knife fight. Go to wewantpicks.com/MKF. Sign up. They'll match your deposit. Use the free money. Throw the free money on more on this strike line. You'll hit it, and you can immediately withdraw your winnings. It's that simple. And then go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our partners, make a deposit, let me know, and I will send you $50, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. December only had, 2 fights in December? And I paid out over $1,000. We're going broke paying people, but we're supporting our partners and making it in the back end. wewantpicks.com/bets. You guys like this new... I'm adding the detailed stats here. You guys like this or no? I know it's hard to read, which is why I'm doing the other view, but let me know if you like it because it took me forever to do. If you guys don't like it, I'm not going to waste my time. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Court McGee versus Ramiz Brahimaj. Court McGee 20-10 overall. He's 2-3 in his last 5, but he is coming off of a nice underdog win over Claudio Silva. Ramiz Brahimaj, 9-3 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses, and he's coming off a fantastic submission win. And you may remember Ramiz Brahimaj for when his ear fell off in a disgusting fight against
You would
Max
have thought,
Griffin.
looking at the pictures, that both of Court's ears had fallen off at one point.
Yeah, well, Ramiz is like...
They look like they're not even on.
Ramiz, it does look like a nub, like a bony nub. Anyway, Ramiz's ear basically fell off against Max Griffin. It was absolutely disgusting. It has nothing to do with this fight, but ugh. What was frustrating about that fight, though, and that he was even in a position for his ear to fall off, is that Ramiz needed to grapple in that fight, and he chose not to. He didn't. He chose to strike, and he ended up in that situation. And he is a phenomenal grappler. He's a world champion black belt grappler. No reason for him to be standing up in that fight or others for the most part. He does have good power in his hands, but he sets up his takedowns well. And that's what the power is really used for. The issue is he doesn't always use his grappling, even though he should, especially when you see that all 9 of his wins are by submission. His striking is not very good. His grappling is amazing, and that is the path to victory. I don't even care who the other person on the other side of the graphic is. That's his path to victory every single time. Court McGee has been around forever and is much better than his record. If you look into his record a little closer, it's deceiving because his losses are to quality opponents, and those were close fights. So it's easy to say, he lost 3 of his last 5. Well, look at those losses. They were close fights against quality opponents. And Court is an old school guy. He's incredibly tough. He's very durable. He has solid striking, solid grappling, and he absolutely never quits. He's good everywhere. He's great nowhere. So he's a jack of all trades. And he's a throwback to when somebody could just work really hard, be well-rounded, and have success before these sort of top 1% athletes in the world jumped into the sport and started to take over. I absolutely love Court as a fighter. I love him in underdog spots. And this is an interesting matchup, and I'm surprised the odds are so close, honestly. And not because I think somebody's a massive favorite, not like the last fight. I just expected more people to count out Court McGee. I thought more people would look at his recent record and be like, he's not very good. And that's the end of it. And I guess people are sharper than I expected them to be. And I guess after his last fight, it's hard to ignore his durability and his grittiness. I think the easiest way to break down this fight and put together a pick is if you look at Court's fight versus Sean Brady. Because Sean Brady is also a very good grappler with just okay hands. And Sean Brady was able to take Court down twice, land a few more strikes than Court did, and just ride out a win. I see this fight being very similar. I think Ramiz will actually grapple. He'll get a few takedowns. I don't think he'll be able to submit Court, but I also don't think Court's going to just pop up as quickly as he has in his other fights. I am very well aware of Court's 69% takedown defense, but I still think Ramiz gets through that, gets the takedown, makes it happen. Ramiz Brahimaj is my pick. What are your thoughts, Jakey?
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you as far as the
We
odds
agree on
go.
everything today. That's not good.
I know, but I agree that I'm surprised that Ramiz was not a big. I would have thought after looking at film of both these guys and seeing how good both these guys are, I would have put these odds probably minus 150 for Ramiz. So when I saw that right now it's pretty much a pick 'em fight, I was very, very surprised. And I started looking into it, and you mentioned that Max Griffin fight. The reason that he was able to he kept striking with Max Griffin was because he was able to hit Max Griffin, right? He was having success. He was getting hit back. He shouldn't strike with people, but he was having success, right? So if you feel like you're having success, you're probably going to keep doing that. Like, why would I want to wrestle? I'm hitting this guy in the face, right? It was a back and forth striking exchanges, and eventually he lost his ear because of it. But he was winning some of those exchanges, so he kept with it. And it feels to me, man, that Court McGee is one of those guys that you can hit Court McGee. He's not a flashy head movement type of guy. He's just a tough, gritty guy that you can't finish him, but he doesn't put people away, but he wins weird decisions because you think you can outstrike him. But then that third round comes and he just overwhelms you with volume and steals the round. And it feels like I completely agree that Ramiz should just try and take him down. I don't know if he's going to be able to, but just try to get those takedowns. If you get him to get down, try to submit him. Court's never been submitted before, but that's the game plan. But I think Ramiz comes out, throws a few strikes, realize how hittable Court McGee is, and gets sucked into that same striking match. And if he gets sucked in that striking match, I think the end of the second round and the third round, Court McGee, with that experience in those type of fights, can win this fight. I think Ramiz is probably the safer pick, but I got to go Court McGee on this because I think he just sucks Ramiz into one of those just nasty, dirty fights that Court McGee just wins all the time. So, get the fight to the ground if you want to win, but I don't think he's going to. All
right, so we're actually split on one. Finally. Yeah, I mean, I just, I love Court McGee. And I'm sure listening to my breakdown, everybody thought I was going to pick Court. And I almost did. I went back and forth. It's super close. It's just such a clear path to victory. And we've seen Court lose that exact same way. So
Well, he's never been submitted.
Well, I didn't say, and I specifically says I don't think Ramiz will submit him. I also don't think Court McGee's going to stand right back
You said
up.
like lose that same way. I just didn't want people to think that he's been submitted before.
No, just lose like getting.
And he's
getting
only been
taken
finished
down.
once ever. 30 fights. He's only been finished once. So.
Yeah, it was like a knockout early in his career. He's super tough. That's why I said he's a straight up throwback to just. He's not amazing. He's not like some natural athlete. He's just works really hard and he's ridiculously tough. And if you know his life story, he's overcome a lot in his life. So he's just one of those guys. You go through the stuff he went through, and you are just mentally tough as hell and can push himself through things that most people will not be able to push themselves through. So I like Court McGee a lot. I just don't see him winning this fight. Do you like him for $8,300 in DraftKings?
No, because he's not going to finish. Because I don't think he hasn't had a finish of his own in like 12 years or something like that. So he's not going to finish him, and he could just get taken down and controlled that way. So I wouldn't play it. I don't like either one of these. It's just such a close fight, I think. So
I actually love Ramiz at 79, under 8,000, and I'm hoping
he struggles with the
takedowns.
I think he struggles with them.
You don't think he's getting those takedowns?
I think he struggles with them. Yeah. And if it's not one of those things where I don't think he can keep grinding for takedowns with Court McGee. Court McGee's not going to get tired late and give up a takedown. So if he doesn't get him early, like this might be a live bet situation to where you see that first shot, that first fresh Ramiz shot, and see how close he is to getting that. And if Court McGee, if it's not even close, that might be a Court McGee play to start playing that.
That's a good point. And we're going to try to do a Fight Companion live stream on Saturday, and we're going to incorporate the live odds and live betting. The problem is this is an earlier card. It starts at like 7 p.m. Central main card. And I got kids. I got kids to feed, which is why I am going to plug our betting sponsors again. Go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know, and I will send you $50 as a thank you. And before I move on from the free $50 plug, what do you think of the Monkey Knife Fight line? 92 is high, man. That means he's defending every single takedown and just lighting Ramiz up on his feet. I do not see that happening.
Yeah, even if I think Ramiz gets caught up in that striking battle, Court McGee still that's a lot of strikes. That's 30 over, if my math is correct, that's over 30 a round. So yeah, I probably put less that 51. I don't like that 51 though.
I think it's less more.
It probably is less more.
Because if Ramiz gets one takedown, touch, those are pitter-patter nonsense work. So I think it's less more here.
Yeah, but the issue is he's a submission guy, right? He's not a mount you TKO. He's going to be working for submission, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, and either way, 92 just so high with Court. You know where I'm going to love that? Monkey Knife Fight has slates, and you could do a rapid fire, or it'll take 2 random fighters, put them together. Hopefully you get Court McGee and somebody else, because I know for a fact I'm going to do less on Court McGee.
Is that random, or is now he's not going to do that?
It's random. The computer generates the matchups.
I thought Chris might be seeing this and be like, well, make sure
Chris does watch
code
this,
in here.
and he does move his lines accordingly, but there's a gentleman's agreement between us and Chris Riley is the man who sets the Monkey Knife Fight lines, and Monkey Knife Fight's daily fantasy. It's strike lines. You just say more or less, and you win a bunch of money. He sets those lines. He watches this show. And we have a gentleman's agreement that while we are live, he will not change the lines. And he will wait till the next day to move the lines. So if you're watching this live, open up another window on your computer and hit the lines, because he will move them, but he'll keep them where they are for us for now. I feel like I have to sneeze. And I'm as soon as I start, I'm going to sneeze. Talk while I sneeze.
God bless you. Achoo! Achoo!
All right, we're good. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Jamie Pickett versus Joseph Holmes. Jamie Pickett, 12-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of a decision win over Staropoli just 1 month ago. Joseph Holmes, 7-1 overall. He's 5-0 in his last 5, riding an 8-fight win streak into his UFC debut. And this is a battle of the middleweight giants. Jamie Pickett is a very big guy who normally has a massive reach advantage, but not in this fight. He uses his length to manage the range and to keep people at bay. If you look at the stats, though, he has a 1-2 striking differential, which means for every one punch he hits you with, he is hit 2 times in return. So he is hit twice as much as he hits his opponents, which is never a good sign. And a lot of that is because he's gun shy. He doesn't just let his hands fly. He takes his time, and you can see that with his strike line here. He takes his time, and if he gets somebody that's willing to let their hands go, he will get touched while he's waiting to throw his own. If Jamie manages the range well and then engages with takedowns, which we've seen him use, I can see him winning this fight in the underdog spot, just like he did in his last fight. Joseph Holmes is taking this on short notice. He's making his official UFC debut after a successful Contender Series win just a few months ago. He is a massive 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. Unlike Jamie Pickett, though, he stands upright and he doesn't really use his reach well with his striking, but he does use his reach for his grappling. Holmes can be a low-volume guy at times, but when he does engage, he likes to stick and move until he can wrap you up, work a takedown, and then on the ground, he's a solid brown belt who controls well, and you really see how long his limbs are once he's on the ground. And I have no idea what to do with this fight. I like Pickett because of his UFC experience, but I also think fighting somebody with sort of the exact same reach and length as him may give him some trouble because he is used to being the much longer fighter in 90% of his fights. Jamie does like to grapple. He averages almost 2 takedowns per fight, but Holmes is a solid grappler. I told you he's a solid brown belt, and this is such a tricky fight to pick. I know Jamie Pickett is the trendy pick here. I know a lot of people are loving him here. And the only reason I am leaning towards Pickett is because of the UFC experience. Other than that, we have 2 guys who can be gun shy. They're massive. And it really will just come down to whoever is literally moving forward, because this probably goes to a decision. So whoever is literally moving their feet forward and pushing will win. And I gotta go with Jamie. He's got more experience. He's been in the UFC for a little bit. This is such a miserable fight to pick. I'm going Jamie, but what do you think? Are you more clear on this than I am?
No, I definitely think this. I was going back and forth. I pretty much flipped a coin on this, but Jamie Pickett's one of those guys where if you watch a highlight film of Jamie Pickett, you would think that he's like one of the top guys in the division, because when he throws and he has those highlight finishes, it is insane the power he has. But you mentioned as well, the guy is just timid at times. He's just backing up, taking his time. Even with his wrestling, you even saw against Jordan Wright, he was in on the takedown, just kind of taking his time. Even was getting elbowed in the head and still was just kind of like da-da-da-da, still trying to get this takedown, and he got knocked out because of it. He did mention the mental aspect of his last fight. He finally won in the UFC. I think he lost his first 2 in the UFC. Finally won, overcoming the mental aspect of winning. He thought he won that fight because he was able to mentally be within himself in the cage for the first time. So maybe he comes out a little bit more aggressive. I think if he's going to win this fight, he needs to get Joseph's respect and get it early, because I think Joseph's going to come out, kind of blitz forward, take advantage of that slow start, and if you don't get his respect early, he's going to be all over you and could finish this fight early. He's got to hit a counter or something when Joseph's coming in quick, or come out aggressive himself, right? I agree. If Jamie's the one, if he's the aggressor in this fight, I think he can win. But even if you're backing up, you got to get that respect early. Otherwise, Joseph, these young guys, they're going to come in hungry, and they're going to be ready. This guy's fought, I think, 6 times in the last 2 years. He's still raw, but he's building experience quickly. He knows what this opportunity is, and if Jamie doesn't give his respect early, I think it's trouble for Jamie. So, this is really, really close. I'm going Joseph just because I think that he does come in with the aggression and is able to overwhelm Jamie. But I agree, this could go either way. I don't like this fight for anything, really.
These odds are a little surprising. I think they literally, when they put the odds together, they just looked at the recent fights, the recent win streak, and just went from there. Because if you go to YouTube and watch fights, I didn't watch Joseph Holmes. I initially saw his record, and I'm like, wow, look at him, huh? Look at this win streak. Good for him. And then I watched some fights, and I'm like, come on. Minus 150 against an actual UFC vet, same size.
He's raw. He's raw. He's definitely raw. He's definitely raw. He's good. He's good everywhere, but he's not like really, really good pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 100%. So we don't have a DraftKings price yet because it is the original opponent dropped and Joseph Holmes stepped up. So we do not have a DraftKings price just yet, but we do have a monkey knife fight line, 61-46. These guys are gun shy. They're either going to stare at each other and do nothing or actually make each other throw a little bit. I'm so hesitant to do more and more, though, but that might actually be the play here. What do you think?
I think Joseph overwhelms early and gets an early finish. I might look for a first-round finish for Joseph in this fight because I just don't think Jamie's aggression is going to match his Holmes's. So I think it's a less for me. But I think more and more is probably the safer play. It's just I see it as a less.
Yeah,
so I can't lose now.
Listen, you don't need to be a full-on degenerate and do fantasy or betting on every single fight. You just don't need to do that. So this is a fight I'm not going to bet on. I doubt I'm going to touch it in any fantasy at all. But if you want 50 free bucks, you should still go to wewantpicks.com/bets, sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, then let me know, and I'll send you 50 bucks, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, literally however you want it. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Joanderson Brito versus Bill Algeo. Joanderson Brito, 12-2 overall. He's 5-0 in his last 5, and he has not lost a fight since 2015. Bill Algeo is 14-6 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Joanderson Brito is a fast and athletic grappler with solid top pressure and a wide array of submissions. He's coming off a dominant win on the Contender Series where he had 3 takedowns. His striking is not very technical, but he will come forward. He will throw bombs. And with those big, wide punches and heavy kicks, he just throws them with no regard for what comes back his direction. But even though he's comfortable striking, he will look to get it to the ground and work from there. Bill Algeo is kind of like a karate-style striker with his, with the way his stance is and his hand placement, but that's not actually his background. And because of that style, he does have very good defense and a surprisingly high output of more than 6 significant strikes per minute. He likes a dirty stand-up war if he can, but if not, he does have some okay takedowns, but he does have a very low 28% takedown accuracy. He does have a BJJ black belt, great cardio, and a fast pace, and he's very durable. This could be a really fun fight. Both Algeo and Brito have no problems getting into a war, and both guys are very well-rounded. Each have solid striking with a technical advantage to Algeo and solid grappling with the advantage to Brito. I want to go with Algeo here. I just can't. If you look at his last 4 fights, you'll see that he was taken down 20 times. Bill Algeo was taken down 20 times total in his last 4 fights. 4, not 40, 4 fights. And that's ridiculous. Even in his win against Spike Carlisle, he was taken down 4 times. So it's absolutely inevitable that he's going to be taken down. And I just don't see him being able to work back up against the very heavy pressure Joanderson Brito. Brito's the pick. These odds are fantastic, honestly. I don't normally grab prop bets. I'm more of a conservative better than that. But I did throw a half a unit on Brito to win by decision to get plus 185 because Algeo is very durable and I think he can survive. And the other half a unit on Brito money line. Jakey boy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, but then I disagree as well. Listen, Brito there's the only word I can describe him with the way he fights is he is a bully. He just charges forward and doesn't give a shit. about what you're going to do. He is going to do whatever it is that he wants to do. There was one fight, he turned a flying knee into a double leg takedown. I've never seen something so athletic in my entire life. It was incredible. Literally a flying knee, and as he's coming forward, he gets a clean double leg takedown. I think he eventually submitted the guy. Listen, if you're Algeo, this is how you win. The first round, you just got to survive. I don't care if you just run around the octagon, you just got to survive, because if he gets his hands on you, whether in the striking or the grappling the first round, he is going to get on top, and he is not going to work for submissions. He is going to throw elbows into your jaw, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to lose the fight. If you survive the first round, I think that Bill Algeo should use the offensive wrestling with Brito, because you've seen him get a little tired. Takedown's not quite as strong. I think he got reversed in a couple fights late in fights. So if you're Bill Algeo, if I'm Bill Algeo, I just survive the first round. I don't even care if I lose the first round, right? Lose the striking exchanges, try not to get taken down, get to the second round, and then you got to work offensive grappling. I don't think he's going to be able to win the striking exchange with Brito. I wouldn't mess around with the power. If he ends up on his back, I think he's in real big trouble, especially early. I work for offensive takedowns to try and control Brito on the ground. User wrestling. He was an all-state wrestler. It's kind of funny. He started his high school career 0-14 as a wrestler, and then finished his career as an all-state wrestler. So the wrestling's there. He's got it in his back pocket. I think he can surprise Brito with his control in the wrestling, especially as a fight drags on. So if you're Algeo, survive the first, get to the second, and try to use your wrestling. If you're Brito, just do what you do, man. Just bully the hell out of Bill Algeo and finish a fight. I have actually under 2.5 on this, and then I have a Brito inside the distance decision no action fight, because I think he comes out, blitzes forward, and wins this fight early. But if he doesn't, I could see how Bill Algeo tiring him out with that, that early pressure, and then grappling him to a win. So I got the inside the distance decision no action for Brito, and then an under 2.5 for the fight altogether. But I like Brito all the way. Yeah,
I mean, he's an exciting guy. I mean, but Bill Algeo, he's tough, he's durable, and if we watch the fights on Saturday and Bill Algeo squeaks out a win, it would not be the most surprising thing.
Because Brito with those submission stuff, he has a tendency to just kind of jump on guillotines, right? And we've seen that happen time and time again with these jiu-jitsu guys. You jump on a guillotine, you end up on your back, and then you don't get up the rest of the round, right? Against a guy that can control him. I think he'd be surprised how well Bill's able to control him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then cardio is a factor too, because Bill Algeo just sets a pace, just absolutely sets a pace. And I will say, listen, I like Brito to win. I think both of their prices in DraftKings are attractive, because I think Brito can get a stoppage and really make something happen for $8,600. I don't think he gets a stoppage. That's why I bet the prop bet to win by decision, because Bill Algeo is super tough, but he potentially could, and he could put up some real numbers with the grappling and the control and all of that. But Bill Algeo at $7,600, that's attractive too, because that dude can fight. And he's tough as hell, and he'll likely go the distance. What do you think?
I think the first minute of this fight is going to be very surprising for a lot of people. I think Brito's a real deal, and I think he can absolutely get the finish. He's going to be in my lineup for $8,600 for sure. I'll chase that finish.
And then Monkey Knife Fight, if you don't know what that is, it's daily fantasy. You get a strike line. In this case, it's saying 64 for Brito, 84 strikes for Bill Algeo, and you say more or less. And if you're right, you can win some real money, and you can do that at wewantpicks.com/MKF. What do you think of this strike line? I think it goes to a decision, and even it's probably less, maybe more less, but probably less.
I think less too, because I think if Brito is landing 64 strikes, he's probably losing the fight, right? Because he wasn't able to knock out Bill Algeo. I think if he lands early, he's able to put some real good shots on Algeo. So I probably played less.
Yeah, I like less too, because Brito will probably fade. I think it goes to a decision, but he'll probably win first round, second round, lose the third round, not have a ton of volume there. Bill Algeo might get his own takedown, hang out on top, and keep him under the 64. So, less is probably the play. I think it's a decision, but even a decision, less is good to go. Grab your own prop bets at wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit with any of them. Then let me know, and I will send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, $50 to do whatever you want with. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, 6, we have an interesting heavyweight matchup with two guys that have almost the exact same fighting style. We have Jake Collier versus Chase Sherman. Jake Collier, 12-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, riding a 2-fight skid with losses. Sorry, Chase Sherman is 15-8 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's riding a 2-fight skid with losses to my buddy, Parker Porter, and Andrei Arlovsky. Jake Collier, 12-6 overall, and he's 2-3 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Chase Sherman is a good boxer with solid foot movement and speed. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he has volume, and he does not stop throwing hands until that last bell. Even if he's tired and slows down, which he does do on occasion, he is still throwing those hands. Chase has solid takedown defense at 82%, but does not have any head movement at all, though. None. Which is why he is hit with more than 6 significant strikes per minute. He absorbs more than 6 significant strikes per minute. If I said he landed 6 per minute, that's a very high number. Like, that's a high number. The average is like 3.5. So to be hit with 6 is ridiculous. This guy takes some damage. Jake Collier was a big, physically fit middleweight, then an okay-sized light heavyweight, and now an undersized and exhausted heavyweight. Technique-wise, he's pretty well-rounded, and he has – what are you laughing at? Because I said exhausted?
He's a sloppy mess.
So technique-wise, he is well-rounded, and he does have tools. I mentioned before that these guys have identical fight styles. Both are well-rounded, but looking to keep it standard. They have solid fundamental boxing, but I would say Jake is a little cleaner and has the better defense, or at least any defense at all. But at the end of the day, I think Chase is the better athlete. He's tougher, and you can see that with his bare-knuckle background. And I think his volume and his chin will get him through this. I like Chase to keep a pace and outpoint Collier here, but when I watched Collier's fights at 185 and 205, I was like, he's pretty good. Like, he's got technique. Like, he's there. He's defended takedowns. He literally just let himself go. He didn't just, like, put on weight. Like, all right, it's hard to cut the weight. Let me just put on muscle and lean into it. He just was like, I'm good. Him and I made very similar life choices these last few years. What are your thoughts?
I think he loves Thanksgiving, man. I think he loves Thanksgiving. Everyone should look at the picture of Jake Collier on SureDog, and then follow up with the graphic here, and just tell me what you think. Tell me if you would trust that guy in a fight. He doesn't seem disciplined to me. He just kind of hangs out. If you're looking for patterns, I don't have any. This is weird stuff because these guys are just kind of they're both kind of sloppy. Chase Sherman's the true heavyweight. He was like the bare knuckles heavyweight champion. I think he was actually only like 1-1-1 in bare knuckles, but he was the champion in bare knuckles, so he has experience. He is tough. I'm not saying Jake's not tough, and he has won some fights in his own right. But if you look at the patterns here, going back to 2014, Jake Collier we're talking about. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. So according to the pattern, Jake's going to win this fight, but I'm going Chase Sherman. I don't trust Jake Collier in this fight. It's going to be a sloppy mess. I just think Chase is able to be a little less sloppy for the judges. So I'm going Chase Sherman, but who knows? Sorry, that's not very good analysis, but these guys are so evenly matched. It's just like, everyone knows that they're just going to punch each other in the face a bunch of times and probably not knock each other out, and then it's just going to go to a judge's scorecard.
Yeah, 100% this fight goes to a decision. They're just going to slug, rock'em, sock'em robots. This honestly should be an entertaining fight. I don't imagine it'll be very highly technical, but it'll be an entertaining fight. I like Chase Sherman as well. I don't know why I like Chase Sherman. I like him in almost every fight. Obviously, I picked against him against Parker and Andrei Arlovsky, but Parker's a good friend of mine. I know how good his striking is, and I picked against him against Andrei Arlovsky, even though he was a favorite versus Arlovsky. And
that Arlovsky fight was kind of interesting because I think he just assumed he was going to knock Arlovsky out because he just came back from bare knuckles and stuff. He was feeling good. And Orlovsky had been getting knocked out, and then he didn't. And I think he kind of blew his load in that fight in the first round, because that third round, he was just kind of like just getting hit in the face. Orlovsky was kind of teeing off on him. So that was kind of a weird fight.
Yeah, I think, honestly, this could be entertaining as, like, you know, I don't think these guys will be vying for a title anytime soon, but not everybody in the UFC can be looking for a title, right? I think it's an entertaining fight. I think these guys will go at it. And that's what makes the strike line so interesting. We have 91 for Jake Collier, 75 for Chase Sherman. And that 91 seems absurd, but he also has his own volume, and Chase Sherman doesn't move his head. So, like, you could actually hit him 91 times. My gut says less. These are heavyweights at the end of the day. I don't care what the volume is. But, I mean, that number came from somewhere, and it literally was just how many strikes does he throw per minute? This is expected to go 15 minutes. Multiply that by 15. What do you think of the Monkey Knife Fight strike line?
I probably play them more and more because I just think it's a sloppy slugfest.
Man, I just won't touch it. I could never say more and more with a line like this with some heavyweights. Maybe I'll look a little closer at these guys' last couple of fights, but that just seems so high to me. Either way, you know, this is a straight up pick 'em. I like Chase Sherman because, as Jacob said, he's more disciplined. He's ridiculously durable. And, you know, I just like Chase Sherman to stick to a game plan, have the better cardio, and try to make something happen. But Jake Collier, he's not a bum. Like, he let himself go physically, but he's not physically a bum. He just doesn't fill out a bathing suit the way you'd like him to, the way you would like a professional athlete to, or the way he did 2 years ago. Either way, sit back with your free $50 that you got from us after you went to wewantpicks.com/bets and made a deposit. I literally will send you $50 as a thank you for signing up with any one of those partners at wewantpicks.com/bets. Just make a deposit, let me know, and I'll get you paid. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have Brandon Royval versus Rogerio Bontorin. Brandon Royval is 12-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, riding a 2-fight skid, but to pretty high-level opponents. Rogerio Bontorin, 17-3 overall and 3-2 in his last 5. Brandon Royval is one of the most exciting guys to watch. He's always looking for a finish, but he has enough cardio to set a relentless pace for 15 minutes. He's dangerous on his feet with diverse striking and great speed. He's also a solid grappler with tricky submissions and a willingness to chase them. He throws crazy, he brings a ton of pressure, and he keeps coming forward. Brandon Royval is a problem for a lot of people. Rogerio Bontorin has heavy punches and throws with intent, but it's mostly there to set up his grappling. His grappling is very good. He's got solid pressure on top, and he's very controlled and measured in what he does. Where Royval will scramble and look for wild submissions, Bontorin will plot, take his time, and work from one position to another. He does all of this while keeping the pressure and throwing strikes from top. He can absolutely submit anyone on the ground, but he does take his time and can fall behind on the scorecards because of that. And this is a really fun fight. We have two guys trying to stay at the top of the division. I think Brandon is definitely the more well-rounded fighter. He's certainly the better striker and has skills on the ground. Bontorin is definitely the better grappler and definitely has more power in his hands. I think the odds are wide here. I think Royval should be the favorite because his striking is solid and his pace is incredible, but the wildness has cost him fights in the past. And if they are on the mat and Royval decides to roll for a submission that isn't there, he will lose a scramble, likely give up a round, potentially get submitted. I'm going to go with Royval here because of his cardio and his striking, but we absolutely should not sleep on Bontorin. And I have a little bit of a bet on Bontorin. I did Bontorin wins inside the distance, but decision no action. I put a quarter of a unit on it at plus 165. If you don't know what that is, we have 5 different betting partners. One of them is Bet Online, and they have a lot of these safety net bets. What that bet is saying is if Rogerio Bontorin wins inside the distance, so he submits or knocks out Brandon Royval, then I will get paid out at plus 165. If he just loses a decision, I get a refund. The bet never happened. I get a full refund, no bet, hands are clean, no big deal. I think Brandon Royval wins. I do not think Brandon Royval can stop Bontorin, but I do think Bontorin can stop Brandon Royval. So I hit that bet, only a quarter of a unit, and I actually got better odds on that than the money line. Sometimes they just, I don't know, don't do their due diligence, but I like that bet. I hit that bet. You're only going to find that at Bet Online, and you might as well go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. Jump in the Bet Online, make a deposit, let me know. I'll send you $50, and you can just use that $50 to follow along. Jakey boy, I know you're a Royval fan. What do you think?
Yeah, and I actually placed a somewhat similar bet, a little bit more specific. I think Royval probably wins this fight, but I took a submission bet, a half unit on Bontorin for like plus 375 because we saw in that last fight, Brandon Royval got in a little bit of trouble and got some in Pantoja, and I think Bontorin is on that level of jiu-jitsu as Pantoja. If you're Brandon Royval in this fight, you can't trust your scrambles, right? He's very, very good in his jiu-jitsu. And there's probably going to be people that be in the chat that will be like, oh, I can't believe you'd say Bontorin would submit Brandon Royval. If anything, Royval is probably going to submit, which is probably, that could happen. Royval could submit Bontorin. I don't see it happening. But Royval, with his grappling, he trusts his scrambles a little bit too much, right? Instead of defending a takedown, he'll just kind of roll with it and do some weird stuff and try to roll out of different positions. And he gets caught, and he got caught against that Pantoja fight. And I think that Bontorin is that high-level grappler that if he starts trusting his scrambling ability and thinks he can just kind of roll and do weird stuff out of positions, he could get caught again. With that being said, I think Royval is probably the better fighter. I think he should win the striking exchanges. I think Bontorin is probably going to load up on shots and probably gets caught a few times with Brandon because Brandon's very precise. He's not a power puncher, but he's very, very precise with the strikes, with his hands and with his feet. If I'm Bontorin, you got to try and use your offensive wrestling, but you can't load up shots, and he actually was a backup lock of the week in his last fight versus Matt Schnell. I said that he was almost going to be my lock of the week. Didn't quite get him there. He ended up winning the fight anyway, so this is kind of my guy, Brandon Royval, versus a former almost lock of the week, so this is tough for me. That's kind of why I think in my heart I put that half a unit bet on Bontorin by submission, but I think Royval should win the fight. But I agree. I think this is a little bit closer than people are gonna expect. And Royval could come out, and look like Royval and be very precise and just piece him up and do that. But I think if there's some scrambling exchanges again, I think people are going to be very surprised by Bontorin's ability to keep with and advance positions versus Royval. So I think it's dangerous for Royval. He should win. I think he's going to win, but it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page. Very typical me and you. I took the conservative route with the inside the distance decision, no action. And you said, screw it, and just went to chase better odds at a submission. So if it hits, you'll get paid twice as much as me. And if it doesn't, I'll at least get a refund. So do you like Brandon Royval at $8,800 in DraftKings? That's the question. Because we think he probably wins, but that's a lot of money.
That is a lot, and he could get some takedowns of his own. He's not like a super takedown guy, but he's an opportunistic guy. He's very, very opportunistic, and that 12-6 record, he's much better than his record shows. And yeah, it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna have to really look at my lineup, and he's probably gonna be a multi-entry play. But for my lineup, I'll have to see who the other big favorites are for sure.
Yeah, because I like a lot of these underdogs, so I agree. We'll see what my lineup looks like. And, if I have the money to spend, I might, because I do think he wins. And honestly, I'm going to look a little closer. I think he scores well in his losses, too. We already talked about the bets that we've got going on. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, I like more and more. I think this goes the distance. And even if it isn't the full distance and there's a submission, it's likely later. So I like more and more. I think it's a pretty clear more and more. We got 2 action-packed guys that are going to go at it. You agree?
Right. I agree.
All right. Awesome. Sounds good. Hype MMA. You said, how do you let us know after you make a deposit? On the website, just scroll to the bottom. There's like a contact us. Just send me an email. That's the easiest way. I'll respond. All I need is your user ID or the account number for whatever you signed up with so we can verify, and then how you want to get paid. It's that simple. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have the co-main event of the evening. And the rematch that nobody asked for. We have Katlyn Chikadze versus Jennifer Maia. Katlyn Chikadze 16-4 overall. She's 3-2 in her last 5, coming off a very close win over Viviane Araújo. Jennifer Maia 19-7 overall, 3-2 in her last 5, alternating wins and losses. Katlyn Chikadze is a tough 1s and 2s fighter who works hard and stays very busy. And when I say 1s and 2s fighter, I'm saying she sticks to the basic. She hides her 2s, which is a straight right, behind her 1s, which is a jab. She's mastered the basics, and she stays in that lane. She's not a finisher, but she game plans very well, and she will strike with a grappler, grapple with a striker, and do what she needs to do to ride out decision wins. I retweeted a stat yesterday, and I forget what it was, but it was just some absurd stat with the amount of strikes she's landed and the amount of decisions that she's had. I think she'll have
landed. First of all, landed.
Okay. She'll have so he's pissed about the Viviane Araújo fight.
No, I mean, that's what she does. She doesn't even land. She'll throw a 1-2, go, and just not even throw it. And the judges think, oh my God, look how good she's landing every punch.
Okay, relax before we get flagged for pornography. Jennifer Maia is a well-rounded fighter with good BJJ, just okay wrestling, and underrated boxing. She's similar to Katlyn in that she's a decision fighter, but she does have a few tricks up her sleeve, like the submission win over Joanne Calderwood, which actually earned her a title shot against Shevchenko, where she was taken down 5 times. Her normal path to victory is to outbox her opponents who are too afraid to take her down. I opened this talking about that this was a rematch. So it's a rematch. Let's talk about what happened the first fight. Katlyn won the first fight 29-28, and she did so with the striking volume. The first round was close. The second round, Katlyn ran away with it. And the third round, Katlyn managed to outstrike Maia, even though she was taken down and controlled for almost half of it. So she spent half of the round with no strikes and made up for it in the other half of the round, surpassed Maia in just half of a round. And in order for Katlyn to win, she needs to do the exact same thing here. She needs to stay away, land as much as possible, and take over with volume. For Maia to win, she needs to crowd, grapple, get a takedown, steal the seconds, take away the volume. And the question is, can she? We saw her have some success in the third round with the grappling in their first fight, but overall she has a 50% takedown accuracy to Chikadze's 50% takedown defense. This is a tough call. This is a close fight. It's a tough call. You watched me break this down early a few weeks ago, and I haven't really changed much from that. I trust Katlyn to make adjustments and prepare for the grappling more than I trust Maia to come out there and just shoot 100 takedowns. So Katlyn's the pick. The odds are crazy. When I broke this down a few weeks ago, she was a minus 160 favorite, and now she's a minus 170 favorite. So people are loving Katlyn to just win yet another decision. I think she probably does, but I would never spend this money, even though she'll probably win, and it'll be just a very clear, like, oh, this is what she does. She wins decisions. I know you're bitter, but can you give us like a non-biased breakdown here?
Yeah, I'll give you a real professional take here. I hate Katlyn. I hate Katlyn. As a person, she seems like a great person. She seems very fun, very down to earth. As a person, I have nothing against her. As a fighter, I absolutely hate Katlyn and the way she fights. That Vivi fight, first of all, Vivi was my lock of the week, so I am a little bit biased. Vivi had her, I think, in an arm triangle, almost submitted for 4 minutes of the second round. Katlyn gets back to her feet. Vivi's tired, right? She's tired. She's not hurt, but she's tired. Katlyn just starts, and the judges somehow gave her the second round of that fight. That's how she's won every single decision with the noises she makes. And she does touch up girls from here to there, a 1-2, a 1-2. But there'll be, in the beginning of a fight, she'll win the first round, just judging her range, won't land a single strike, but she's doing the noises. The judges think she's landing. Her corner is even one of those corners that, oh, yeah, ow. not even landing shots, and her corner's just hyping her up. So good for them. They've got a strategy down to win fights that way. I just think Jennifer Maia is able to finally get inside, get nasty, get her on the ground. If you watch that title fight versus Chevy, she actually got Chevy. She took Chevy down and controlled her, I think, in the end of the second round. So if you're taking Shevchenko down, it was kind of a reversal, but she was able to get on top of Shevchenko and control her. If you're doing that, Shevchenko, just get inside of Caitlin, just get her to the ground, and just control her, please, Jennifer. I could see Caitlin winning this fight the way she always does, but I'm just praying. I hope Jennifer wins because I cannot stand the way Caitlin fights. Caitlin, no offense, I think you're a great person, but the way you fight just drives me insane.
For some reason, she does seem like a good person, but she's been kicked off of Twitter, and I don't know why. So if anybody knows why, let us know. Jester,
do you really not know why? Or was
Jester
that like a
in
joke?
live chat said, due to 3.5 round bet on Maia. That's a great bet. I looked to do it. The odds are insane. It's like minus 260. So not doing it, not touching that. I do think she can win a round, but I'm not going to spend minus 260 on that. But that is a good idea. I had the same thought, and it just wasn't going to work. And then somebody else said, just take all Maia needs to do is take Chikadze down once. Well, she did that in their first fight and still lost. So I completely disagree with that point. You don't think Caitlin Chikadze wins this? Listen, I'm not spending $8,900 on her. Not happening. You agree with that statement?
Oh, yeah. No, I would not spend any. I wouldn't spend $1 on her.
Would you? Are you spending $7,300? If she gave you a tiny bit of attention, you'd be like, anyway, are you spending $7,300 on Jennifer Maia?
No, I'm not doing that as well because she lost the first fight. So why would I mean, no.
It's been a few years, but yeah, I agree. 73. Once you get those sevens, it gets attractive because it's like, you know, you score 50 points. $7,300 could be worth it if you're getting what you're supposed to get out of the other guys. The odds we mentioned are they're super wide. This is a close fight. Caitlin should win, but these odds are super wide. And the monkey knife fight strike line, I got to imagine. Man, I want to say more.
Are they going to count actual strikes or just how many times she yells? Because the yelling, the more or less on the yelling, that's going to be one. I'd put that 190.5, Chris. If you want to put that on Monkey Knife Fight, the yells, 190.5.
I do think less might be the play, only because I don't think there's a stoppage, but I think Maia's going to look to grapple. And I think she's going to try to hold her against the cage and just try to take away some strikes from Chikadze. And so I'd like the less on Monkey Knife Fight. If you don't know what Monkey Knife Fight is, it's daily fantasy. It's super fun, super easy. You just look at a line like this. That's how many strikes they're expected to land. And you say more or less. And if you're right, you can triple your money. You string a few of them together. You can 25 times your money. And if you want $50 free, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know after you do, and I'll send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. Literally that simple. Next up, at UFC Vegas 46, we have the main event of the evening. We have Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze. Calvin Kattar is 22-5 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of that very one-sided loss to Max Holloway. Giga Chikadze is 14-2 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight stoppage streak. Calvin Kattar is a boxer and one of the best boxers in the UFC. He has power, but most of his KOs come from incredible timing. His hands are always exactly where they need to be, and he cuts angles better than almost everyone. I would love to talk about his stats, and I'll show them in a second, but the problem is Max Holloway destroyed his stats. I retweeted a stat earlier today, and today is Tuesday, that said something like Calvin Kattar outstruck his opponents like 3-2 or 2-1 or something like that in all of his fights, like his career. And then after the Max Holloway fight, he now has a wild negative striking differential. That's how much Max landed on him and how much Max screwed up Calvin's entire career worth of stats in one fight. In his wins, Calvin Kattar has outstruck every opponent and should have a very nice strike differential, but I mentioned Max touched him up so much that his 9-fight strike differential has fallen to a negative 8-5. 8-5. Because of Max, he has hit 8 times and only lands 5. He has 90% takedown defense and a 30% takedown accuracy, which he may need in this fight. Giga Chikadze is the future of the division. He's a phenomenal striker with a solid jab and fantastic kicks. He stopped Cub Swanson with a liver kick and then put the incredibly tough Edson Barbosa away with punches. He does an incredibly good job managing range. He uses his kicks to keep you out and then comes in with his hands. When you try to close the distance, he goes back to the kicks. He is not a high volume guy. He's landing less than 4 significant strikes per minute, but he does an amazing job keeping his opponent's volume low as well. So he'll slow down the entire pace of the fight to do what he needs to do. He has a loss on Contender Series where he was taken down 4 times and submitted, and that's the only time in his UFC tenure that he has even looked like a human being. And this is a really fun fight. My gut is saying that Giga will win because he manages range well, and he's amazing at slowing down his high-volume opponents. And Calvin is exactly that. He's a high-volume opponent. Calvin's wins come from bringing the pressure and absolutely touching you up. His losses are when he's pressured. Max overwhelmed him. Moicano did the same. Zabit did the same. But Giga's different. He's not a pressure guy, and that's what makes this so interesting. Calvin did the right thing after the Max loss. He took a bunch of time off. It's almost been a full year, and I would like to think he spent that time healing up, but also buttoning things up, working on his wrestling for a plan B. Giga's the real deal, and I love this matchup because we'll find out how good he actually is. I love Calvin in the underdog spot. If he comes forward, works past the kicks, and mixes in the occasional takedown attempt, I could see him throwing off Giga's timing, controlling the tempo of the fight. I have to go with Giga to win, but I'm liking Calvin, and I may grab a plus 5.5. We talk about the plus 3.5 bets where you buy 3.5 points. There's a 5-round fight. You can buy 5.5 points. And the math works out a little different. He has to win like 2.5. It's something crazy. My only fear is that Giga is going to stop him. That's my fear. But I think this is closer than what these odds say. I think it's a competitive fight, and we're going to find out a lot about Giga. But probably find out exactly how amazing he is. But Calvin Kattar is a very good fighter with very good hands. Jakey boy, you shook your head. You disagree. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be careful putting anything on Calvin Kattar in this fight. And poor Calvin Kattar, because he went from probably fighting the second best all-around striker in the division to probably the best striker in the division. I think a lot of people consider Giga one of the best, if not the best striker in this division. I kind of wish that they didn't book the Korean Zombie for that Volk fight, because I would have loved to see Giga put away Calvin Kattar, which I think he does, and then fight Volk for the title. I think that's a very, very interesting matchup. We'll talk about the Volkanovski Korean Zombie fight later, but I think Giga dominates this fight. My only question to you is, how good is Massachusetts wrestling? I need to know how good Massachusetts high school wrestling is.
It actually is pretty good. So I'm from Connecticut wrestler. Massachusetts used to win New England's all the time. But Connecticut, we had some private clubs that did really well, and kids started wrestling earlier and earlier. And now Connecticut wins New England's for the most part. But Massachusetts wrestling is pretty good. It's not Jersey. It's not Pennsylvania. But it is pretty good.
Because Calvin Kattar placed 5th in states as a senior in Massachusetts for 160 division. I think for him to have a chance, I want to know how good that wrestling is, because he's got to control Giga for 5 rounds with wrestling, because I know Calvin thinks he's a good boxer, and he is a pretty good boxer, but we saw him get exposed against Max Holloway. Giga isn't quite as good pure boxer as Max Holloway, but he's a little bit more dynamic with his strikes. He definitely has more power than Max Holloway, so if he tries to get in any type of striking exchange with Giga, he's going to lose, and he's probably going to get knocked out. If he's able to get the wrestling and get the control, that's his opportunity there. So I can see why you're trying to chase that, that plus 5.5 with the, if he can kind of control and whatever. I think he comes out and tries to box. You saw he probably could have tried to do that against Max Holloway. There was some weird exchanges where he was diving a little bit because he was getting desperate. But I think he comes out. I think he was embarrassed versus Max Holloway. He says, you know what? Let me prove I can strike against what some people are calling the best striker in the division. I think he gets knocked out. I like Giga. I like him early, probably second or third round to get that finish versus Calvin.
Yeah, I don't, it's anything could happen in this fight. Anything could happen. That's why I don't necessarily have a bet on it yet. The odds are too wide to bet on Giga. Calvin Kattar could absolutely win this fight, but Giga's it's so tricky.
The only way I put Giga, because I don't really like the minus 235, but I put him in like a favorites parlay. So I like him to win, not straight up money line, but I threw him in a parlay to kind of capitalize on what I think he should do. So that's kind of how I'm playing him.
Yeah, and I mentioned it before. Calvin Kattar had issues with Max Holloway because Max Holloway is a very high volume person. So was Moicano. Zabit pushed the pressure. Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar has issues with people who push the pace and push pressure. That's not how Giga fights. Giga does not fight that way. He sort of waits.
I agree, but he's going to have issues with the countering and the precision. That precision is going to catch him by surprise for sure, I think.
Listen, I have Giga winning, but this is not as cut and dry as most people think it is. Like, I think Giga wins, but would it be that shocking if Calvin Kattar just had the cleanest freaking boxing and just absolutely touched up Giga? That wouldn't be like the most shocking thing in the world. It wouldn't be like, oh my God.
It's pretty surprising.
It would be like,
people consider Giga the best striker in the division, I think. So
listen, I think he's one of the most effective because look who he's stopping and how he's stopping them. But the best, he's not the most technical. Calvin's a more technical striker. I think Giga's just very well timed and he's very effective. So anyway, Giga's the pick. So I'm not trying to, play both sides, but I do not think it's absurd.
Imbe mentioned the cardio too. I think I agree that the longer this fight goes, probably does favor Calvin. That's why I like that 2 or 3 range for Giga. If this does go 4th and 5th round, you could see Calvin having some success with his hands. So I definitely agree with that comment.
And that's why I think the plus 5.5 bet, it was minus money. So it's not like Calvin Kattar is plus 190. I can buy a few points and let him win a few rounds, and then I'll get plus 120. It was like minus 130. It's like I'm not spending Kattar. No minus money on Kattar in this matchup. So I don't know what to do with bets, but Monkey Knife Fight, I like more and more. I think it's a battle, man. I think we saw just how tough Calvin Kattar is. We saw how tough he is. So I think it's a battle. I think they go at it, and I think Calvin Kattar, can land some strikes. 83 might be a little high. But I think they go at it. I think we see 4 rounds at least. What do you think?
I disagree, but it's probably the safer play, if that makes sense.
I like more and more Monkey Knife Fight. Guys, don't forget to grab your free $50. Go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of the betting partners on that screen. Make a deposit. Let me know, and I will send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. It's literally that simple. And keep this conversation going on our Discord. In the description, we have a link to Discord. It's 100% free. We do not hide anything behind a paywall. I'm not going to get you to pay us money and then give you some half-baked content or a spreadsheet. That's not how we do it here. We rely on donations and people working through our partners and supporting them. Jakey boy, any final thoughts before we shut this thing down?
No, it's good to be back. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Make sure you guys like the stream if you're watching. Let us know in the comments for each fight. And that's pretty much all from me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And join our Saturday pre-fight breakdown. We are going to do a full card parlay based off of your picks. Vote on Twitter, mention it in the live stream. We will build a parlay on the fly, and if it hits, the money goes to the members. We will literally divide it evenly to the members of our YouTube channel. And if you don't want to sign up to be a member on the YouTube channel, click the buy a coffee link and buy a beer link below, and you could be a member there, and you can qualify. Those payouts, 11 fight parlay, if that hits, payout's going to be in the thousands. It's that simple. Anyway, thanks for the watch. Thanks for the like. Thanks for everything, guys. And we'll see you on Saturday for our pre-fight live stream.